All right, welcome back. Of course, I'm going to be continuing on just my little for fun series that I'm doing just to fill the time until the international starts. Of course, this is because I have already finished my team review series, which if you have a team attending this year's international, just know that I've done a review of the past DPC year, and it's already posted on my channel as of now. So, as of recording this, we are 8 days away from the international starting, and I thought it'd be kind of fun because it's been such a long time since the last international has concluded, to kind of go over some of the changes that have happened because some of these changes are more recent than you might remember them being and weren't actually implemented in the last TI. As you know, looking back into Dota patches can kind of get a little bit hazy sometimes. So what I've done is I've kind of gone over some of the most major changes, mainly just like captain's mode or like game changes. Of course, I didn't go over anything that was related to like ranked matchmaking. I didn't do anything about changes to that. I didn't bother going through any of the items or neutral items that have been added or removed. I did one segment of the new items just because there weren't all that many. But neutral items, I haven't gone through which ones have been cycled out or anything like that because in general, none of the neutral items were around when the last TI was happening. So I just kind of skipped all of that. I figured it would take up way too much space, which I ended up needing pretty much all the space on the board for all the changes that have happened since the last international anyways. So yes, with that out of the way, starting all the way back in November, of course, starting first, the International 9 started in 2019 on August 15th, ended on August 25th. It was played on patch 7.22F, which ended up having two subsequent balance patches after which were 7.22G and 7.22H. But after that, our first big patch after last year's international came on November 26th, 2019. It was patch 7.23, and this was the patch that added both Void Spirit and Snapfire. So yes, those two heroes have not been at a TI yet. It has been that long. Those heroes have almost been in the game for 2 years now, and they have not seen any international play yet. So we have also personal couriers in the last TI. There were no personal couriers. It was just one team courier. And then when they first changed this, of course, your courier was tied to your GPM directly. So if your courier died, you lost all your GPM. That has since been removed. Same thing for couriers being able to use items. That has since been removed. Another thing from that patch, level 30 heroes. They also removed side shops. They added outposts. They added neutral items. They also added an extra backpack slot at that point because there was not a dedicated neutral item slot. At that point, you just had them in with your regular items, which was a little odd. But that extra backpack slot, again, would end up being replaced by that extra neutral item slot. So, of course, that has since been removed. And then they, of course, removed Stout Shield and Ring of Aquila. Ring of Aquila has made its comeback, though, in the form of a neutral item. And then in between this patch and the next big patch, we had one more balance patch where they actually removed all the shrines around that were far away from Roshan. So each team had two shrines, one in each of their jungles. So both of the non-Roshan shrines got removed from the game. Of course, adding the outposts really cluttered the map, so they were trying to get rid of some of the extra stuff. But at this point, they hadn't quite removed all of the shrines yet. There were still shrines. And at the same time, in the same patch, they removed all of the XPM talents. So those have been out of the game since December of 2019, so almost 2 years as well. Next up, patch 7.24, which would end up only having one balance patch after which would be 7.24B. This was put in on January 26, 2020, and this is when we finally got our dedicated neutral item slot, as well as a neutral item stash, because notably, before any of that, all of the neutral items just ended up sitting on the ground in the base, and you couldn't teleport them to base. You had to actually drop them there. It was incredibly frustrating and annoying and inconvenient. This was also the patch where they finally removed all of the shrines, as well as they moved the outposts. So, of course, the outposts used to be where the side shops were. They then moved them into the jungles. And then since then, they would end up moving them more towards the center of the jungle as opposed to kind of tucked away in some trees. They also removed all of the GPM talents at this point. So on January 26, 2020, all GPM, all XPM talents removed. All right, so next up we have patch 7.25A, which would have three more subsequent balance patches, A to C. This came out March 17th of 2020. So at this point, the coronavirus pandemic was just starting at this point. That's how far back this was. This was when Captain's Mode made their initial change to the banning phase to being, instead of a 3-2-1 banning phase, it became a 4-1-1 banning phase, which was incredibly awkward and really bulky at the front. I was really not a huge fan of this. I'm really glad they've since moved on. Travels became passive, like Routes of Travels no longer had an active. Of course, it would affect your TP scroll. because I think at that point boots of travels were just really broken. You could just TP back with a scroll and then TP out with a travel. They had different cooldowns. And then finally, they removed the power runes at minute 2. So of course back then you were able to get like a DD at minute 2 and you just kind of won your lane. So they got rid of that. So patch 7.26 came out April 17th, 2020. That was the patch where they removed all of the primary attribute bonuses. So that meant if you were an agility hero, all points of agility gave you all the regular things that it gave everyone else, but it also gave you movement speed. If you were a strength hero, you got additional magic resistance with your strength. If you're an int hero, you got extra spell amp with your int. So they removed all that. Following that, just a couple days later with 7.26b, they removed gold from denies. Of course, last hitting and denies, the deny aspect used to give gold, it no longer does. And then all talents, this is when all the talents in the game got nerfed by about 20%. Patch 7.27, which had 4 subsequent balance patches, A to D. It came out June 28th of 2020. Outpost now requires a tier 2 steal. Of course, before, Outpost could be stolen at any point. It was incredibly frustrating and annoying that you could just have your Outpost stolen at 30 seconds in. It was really inconvenient. So now you need a tier 2 tower to actually take the Outpost. Tower's attack time got changed. This was kind of a big thing for a little bit because it took some getting used to last hitting under tower again as they changed the attack speed and the damage of the tower shots. Captain's mode bannings, they reverted the 411 to then the 232 banning phase, which is the one that we have implemented right now. Of course, all this was happening before we even knew that last year's TI wasn't going to be happening. So all of this stuff was supposed to be heading into last year's International, which didn't end up happening. Next up, after this, we didn't have anything for quite a while. Oh, sorry, I missed something from the last patch. The Captain's Mode pick and ban phase was reduced from 35 seconds per pick and ban to just 30 seconds, and the reserve time stayed the same. 7.28, which had 3 subsequent balance patches, A to C, came out December 17th of 2020. So there was quite a huge gap here in time between big balance patches, or big Dota patches in general. This is when they added Hoodwink into the game. So it has been over 9 months now. The Hoodwink has been in the game. She has since been added to Captain's Mode, as well as every other hero that shows up here. There's 4 heroes in total on this board. So Void Spirit, Snapfire, Hoodwink, and Dawnbreaker. They have all since been added to Captain's Mode and will be able to be picked for this year's International. This was also the patch when they added Aghanim Shard. They also made it so the game starts at nighttime, and then when the runes and the creeps spawn, it becomes daytime. They also added a bunch of new items, which are all the upgraded blinks. They added the Orb of Corrosion, Falcon Blade, Witchblade, Wind Waker, Mage Slayer, Eternal Shroud, and Gleipnir, and of course the most broken item of all, Fluffy Hat, which was so good that they had to nerf it. Patch 7.29, which had 3 subsequent patches or balance changes after which, B to D, came out April 9th, 2021. This was the patch that added Dawnbreaker. So just 4 months later, they're adding Dawnbreaker to the game. This was also the patch where they added Water Runes, so bottles became super broken. You were once again able to level up your attributes like you were back in the olden days of Dota. They also added the Bounty Runes being able to stack, meaning that multiple Bounty Runes could spawn at a time in your jungle, and you would just have to go claim them when they did. But they also made it so that the first Bounty Runes also spawn in the river, which wasn't a thing before. They also added the fact that you get 1 TP scroll every time you die. The second Roshan drops Aghanim Shard, which was super broken. At the Animator, teams were just picking any carry that had some sort of Aghanim Shard upgrade, mainly Ursa, and it was just really, really broken. The Captain's Mode first phase picking went from 1-2-1-2 to 1-2-2-1, which was a huge change. It made first pick super broken, so later on they would change that, and we'll get to that. They didn't end up changing or reverting anything there, but they would end up changing something later in the draft to make second pick a little bit more enticing. Couriers no longer provided vision and Roshan, which of course was a huge part of having personal couriers. Anyone or any support could just send their courier into the pit to scout. That was removed. Shared tangos got changed, so of course mid laners have to buy their own tangos now. And this was when they removed Necrobook. So that was pretty, that was already 5 months ago now that they've removed Necrobook. Feels like yesterday. And then finally, patch 7.30 or 7.30, which is the last big patch that we've had, and it's likely going to be the big part of the patch that we're heading into this year's International with. On August 17th, they put it into the game. Captain's Mode, the second phase, went from 2-1-2-1 to 2-1-1-2, meaning that second pick now has last pick in the second phase and the last phase, which of course makes it a little bit better. because first pick was just really, really good. And then, of course, they moved Cheese from second Roshan to third Roshan because second Roshan was just way too good. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. We are now heading into TI10, which starts on October 7th, ends on October 17th, and we are playing on patch 7.30D. I don't imagine they'll be putting out another balance patch before this year's international starts. I think it would be quite ridiculous to do so with only a week until group stage starts. Some teams need to really get acclimated to what's good and what's not. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say 7.30D is going to be the patch that we're going into the international with. So when TI actually starts this year, it will have been 774 days since the last TI concluded. So it's been quite a while. Again, a lot of changes, as you can see here. And of course, this isn't every single change. I didn't put any of the hero changes. I didn't put any of the neutral items got cycled in and out, like I had mentioned. This was mainly just stuff that would affect the overall gameplay of Dota in every single game, as well as some of the pro Dota stuff, like the captain's mode changes and stuff like that. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below as always. Let me know if I missed anything important. Maybe someone can count how many times OD has been reworked since the last international, because I can tell you it's probably been a few times. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow with another video.